The premise of my video here is to talk about braking, and big back brake pads always nice on a wheel, and people also pull up with their toes at the front as they're braking as well, which is another thing I've heard mentioned. Lean back to brake. A lot of the modern wheels have a grab handle at the front, so as you're coming into brake, you're doing your carving, which I've already talked about, and you're leaning back. And then a lot of the modern wheels have a handle at the front. You can grab it with one hand and just yank the wheel back real hard, and it will just come to a rapid halt. And because you're always on top of the wheel, this is sort of a funny thing to say, but the wheel is sort of always under you. So as you're coming into brake, and it looks like I'm leaning right back, like, why are you back like this? From my perspective, I'm still upright. I'm not really sort of changing my center of gravity or my angle. It's like, from your point of view, I'm leaning back like that. But from my point of view, I'm still upright on my point of gravity. So this is a sort of an interesting perspective to, I don't know, it's just a fascinating one to think about that. Sometimes I sort of feel like you're never really leaning over on the wheel, even though from the person standing on the side of the road or whatever, looking at me go past, they see this thing leaning over. But from my point of view, I'm standing dead straight, and the wheel is pushing me almost uphill like an elevator. And so I'm still dead straight, and the fact that I'm on a lean on this elevator, my feet are still flat on the floor, my feet are still flat on the pedals, and I'm still standing, or I could be still standing near dead straight, because you only have to like tip your little toe just like a centimetre. You only got to like lean forward like just a little tiny piece, and it will start to go and go and go and go. And your toes are slightly tipped forward, but your body is virtually under gravity, still dead straight the whole time. And as the wheel is going forwards, you are still dead straight to the point of contact. I don't know. I find that interesting anyway. And it's about perspective and points of view, observational type sciences. And because this thing, is computerized wheel on the ground, measuring its position relative to the in a position, that's hard to talk about. My point being that under braking, it's like having anti-locking brakes in a way, because the wheel under you, you can sort of get it into a skid, but in a lot of ways it doesn't really. It's always trying to be correct. And so the computer in here, it doesn't want to let you down, so it's always trying to be correct. And even in some, in videos I've demonstrated how I can do a burnout in a straight line going forwards. And the wheel is spinning, but yet the position of the overall sort of relative motion of the wheel maintains its coordinated nature, which is quite fascinating. And same with under braking. When you're braking really hard, and the tire, might skip over some dips in the road or whatever, and it will sort of sound like an airplane coming in and landing. It's like coming in, but yet it's still maintaining its correct position for you. And so again, these just little natures of the wheel, and from personal observation of riding for a while, it's very fascinating to experience, and a lot to learn about all about it. And so it's quite exciting, and I'm impressed, because sometimes it's hard to describe what it is that is going on when you're doing something physical that you're not talking your way through doing it. When you're doing it, you're doing it. It's like talking isn't really required when you're on your wheel, so having to think about how to re-explain what it is that's going on later, about how exactly you did that. And these wheels are a lot like a bicycle, where once they're travelling along at sort of maybe running speed or, a little bit quicker, just the sheer spinningness of the wheel going around stays upright, and it sort of goes upright. Very similar to a bicycle. You start going along on a bicycle at speed and the thing will just stay upright. And this is how people can ride along down a hill with no hands on. I'm not advising to do that, but anyway. So the premise of the video is braking. So I was just thinking before, because I was sort of trying to come up with some distraction for my day, to make a video seemed like a good thing to do. Talk about the wheel. It's a great distraction, is the wheel. And under braking, if you were low on power and you were riding along on your wheel and you're like, blazing along, enjoying life, and then a Kenworth truck pulls out in front of you and you're low on power and you're like going along quickly, how are you going to get on for braking with these things? Because to me, that would be a good question. Is like, what the hell, man, am I going to just peel into the side of that truck because this thing doesn't have enough power left in it because I'm down to like 3% battery? Hi there. I don't usually ride my wheel below 30%, and even at 40%, that's probably quite low enough, and I'd be being very cautious at that stage. So I just thought I'd tack that in there. All right. Thanks. Percent, and I'm like full sending it as for every beep it can give me. But I think something to consider here under these conditions is that these things, when going down a hill, like if I were going down a hill on this wheel, it'd be generating power. And it actually recharges. These wheels recharge going down a hill. And this is another reason why the high mileages that you can get out of these wheels is, I personally think, partly to do with that. That'll be definitely one of the added things you could tack onto a list if you were making one. Braking, the thing suddenly comes alive, generating is available, and that's like, if I'm going down some long hill or whatever, I'm getting more and more power all the time, and by the time I get to the bottom, potentially I could have regained a third of the power that I'd lost getting up the hill, or the ballpark number's half to a third or something, probably closer to a third. But the thing is this is a lot of power to be regaining under those conditions. So I sort of think that is an interesting factor when braking, is that the wheel generates a lot more power, there's a lot more available, and yeah, isn't that an interesting thing about the wheel? So there we go about that. Alright. Everything I said is opinion, and as is where is, use at your own risk and all of that. Riding a single wheel. Do you like my wheel? Great thing. Thank you very much. Ride carefully and be safe. Back. Brakes again. The wheel is on. The brakes are fully on. Testing the brakes. Well, we can see that the wheel is not moving. Well, hang on a minute, the wheel moved. Yeah, but that was because I accelerated by pushing on the accelerations. Pushing backwards makes it go backwards. Pushing forwards makes it go forwards. There was input put in. Here it is with no input. It is on. And you're thinking, well, hang on, the brakes, I call this brakes are fully on. The brakes are fully on this wheel. Well, why is it moving? because I am putting input into it. I'm pushing down at the front, which causes it to go forward that way, and I'm pushing it back this way, so then it goes back this way. You can virtually just spin the wheel around and ride it backwards, which you can do. Just hop on the wheel backwards and ride it back to front. But so this, I'm pointing this out because, but looking at many vehicles over my lifetime, many thousands, going right through them from top to bottom, you know, seeing what makes them all tick and having the opportunity to do that for such a lot of my life, and having been taught to drive when I was like 5 or whatever, what's my point? I've inspected a lot of brakes in my life of different vehicles, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of vehicles, and if I were to be looking at this and thinking, well, are the brakes on? Yes, they are. The only reason it's moving is because I'm pushing the accelerator. Just then, I pushed the accelerator by pushing it forward. So the fact that I can stand at the back here of this transporter and push at the back of it, and it will actually roll forwards. The brakes are on 100%. The wheel is not moving. The only reason that it's moving is because I pushed it with my finger. I accelerated the wheel by pushing down on the accelerator and putting it into drive. It's getting a bit growly because it's ready to fang. Okay, so there we have it. I thought I'd talk about that. It's quite fascinating. Beep. Fuck yeah, it's growling today. Do enjoy the wheel. Alright, ride safe.